Hey, how's it going, do-it-yourselfers? So I get this question a lot in the comment section, which is, hey Ratchets, my car is shaking. What the hell is wrong? So today I'm going to cover the top 5 main reasons why your car may be shaking, so make sure you stay tuned and watch the entire video. Alright, so coming out at number 5, and in order to get the basics out of the way, your car may be shaking if your engine has a misfire. Or worse, if you have a multi-cylinder misfire. Now, sometimes if you have a misfire, you get a check engine light, or if you have a multi-cylinder misfire, your check engine light will actually start to flash. But you may not always get a check engine light if you have a misfire, especially if it just started happening. Now, symptoms of a misfire that's causing your car to shake, well, if it's a misfire that's related to an ignition problem, it will usually show under load. Like if you're behind a red light and you're trying to get going and you step on the gas, but you feel a bit of a hesitation or, bit of a miss, for lack of a better term, then that could indicate a problem with your engine having a misfire, which is causing your car to shake or hesitate. So yeah, if you're feeling hesitation or vibration inside the cabin when you're putting the car under load, whether you're trying to floor the gas pedal, trying to get going from a dead stop, or you're going uphill, or trying to race someone on the freeway, and you feel that hesitation and vibration, then that could be due to a misfire. And you need to get that checked out before you move forward. All right, coming at number 4, feeling vibration whenever you press on the brake pedal. All right, so if you feel vibration inside the cabin only and only if you press on the brake pedal, then you more than likely have uneven wear on your brake rotors and or your brake pads. Now, this could be due to a few reasons. Maybe the piston inside the brake caliper is sticking, not working properly. Maybe the slide pins have lost the lubrication, not allowing for the engagement and disengagement of the brake pads. But again, whatever the reason is, if the shaking is only happening when you apply your brakes, the problem is with your brake pads. And it's usually up front because you do most of the braking with your brakes on the front wheels. Yeah, there's only a certain amount of tolerance allowed on the brake rotors before they warp too much and then cause that vibration you feel. So if you have that problem, you need to get the rotors checked, measured, make sure it's within that specification, and if it's not, you need to either machine them or replace them along with your brake pads and the hardware for your brake caliper. All right, so coming at number 3, you feel vibration at highway speeds between, let's say, 55 to 75 miles per hour. Now, if that's the case, 80 to 90% of the time, it's due to your tire being out of balance. See, when tires are made and when they come out of the factory, the material that makes this tire, let's say the rubber, is not exactly perfectly spread out throughout this tire. You might have maybe a small bulge or maybe a little bit more material thickness in one corner, and then when you're going at high speeds and this tire is spinning very fast, that extra weight in that side will pull the tire and cause vibration. So you're gonna have to get these tires balanced before you put them on the car. So yes, at the tire shops, they place these tires with the wheels on the tire balancer, and then they add these weights that you see here in order to have the tire be more even as far as weight goes all around. But again, that's only 80 to 90% of the time that if you feel shaking inside the cabin at highway speeds, it's due to a tire that's not balanced. The other 10 to 20% is a bit tricky. But a way to understand this properly, pretty much anything that spins outside of your transmission, if it's out of balance or damaged, is going to cause shaking at those speeds. So let's say if you have a severely damaged wheel, that's going to cause shaking. Or if you have a damaged tire, maybe this tire has been sitting flat for a long time, it's bulging and out of shape and out of sorts in one area, that's going to cause shaking. No amount of tire balancing is going to get rid of that. If you have a front wheel drive, the CV axle, sometimes it has to be balanced. Other times if it's damaged or missing the weight on it, is going to cause shaking as well. Or if you have a rear wheel drive like this truck, if you have a damaged or out of balance drive shaft, that's going to cause shaking as well. Now here's a funny one. If you have an older car with those steel wheels that use the plastic hubcaps that goes around the entire wheel, but the plastic hubcap is broken, let's say in half, but still on the wheel because the metal framing is not damaged, that could cause vibration at highway speeds as well. All right, coming at number 2, feeling no vibration in the car when the transmission is in park, but getting vibration inside the cabin when it's put in drive. Now, if that's the case, not always, but the main culprit is going to be your motor and or your transmission mounts. So on a setup like this, you usually have 3 motor mounts. You got a rear motor mount, a front motor mount, and then you have a side motor mount. And then on this side, you have a transmission mount. And obviously the job of these mounts is to attach your engine and transmission to the chassis of your car. That's kind of important. So here's an example of a motor mount here. This part goes to the motor, this part goes to the chassis. And as you can see, they're connected to one another through this rubber part around here. And the job of that rubber part of the motor or transmission mount is to dampen the vibration from your engine or transmission. So when it gets passed through the chassis to the cabin, you feel it less. So every time you put your car in drive, your engine and transmission are applying a bit of torque to your wheels. And if this is broken, that torque is going to shake this. And then that vibration and shake is going to be transferred to the chassis, and then you're going to feel it inside the cabin. And obviously if the car is in park or neutral, no torque is being applied, therefore there's going to be very little vibration, and even if you have bad motor mounts, you're not going to feel it inside the cabin usually. Now if you suspect this problem, one thing you can do is to brake torque the engine and then check for excessive movement. Basically you turn on the car, put your foot on the brake pedal, make sure your emergency parking brakes are engaged, then you press the car in drive. Then with your other foot, you tap the gas pedal and check for excessive movement of the engine or transmission. Now, some movement is normal. As you can see in this video, this car does not have bad motor or transmission mounts. But if you feel a big jolt, then that could indicate a problem with your mounts. And then you should also do the same thing in reverse, and then again check for vibration. But in order to verify this, you really must do a visual inspection of your motor and transmission mounts. Now there's something else that's usually overlooked that has the same exact symptoms as bad motor or transmission mounts, which is the use of aftermarket CV axles. So yeah, on these front wheel drive vehicles, if you get an aftermarket CV axle, the joint up here is not built to the same standards as the OEM ones. So yeah, when the car manufacturers make these cars and they make that CV axle, the CV joint is really what we're talking about actually. They make that joint with some give, for lack of a better term, so that the harshness and the vibration from the engine is not transferred through the CV axle to the wheel hub, then from there to the strut tower, to the chassis, and then so that you don't feel it inside the cabin. But when you buy an aftermarket one, it's not built to the same spec. And it usually has less give, for lack of a better term again, and that harshness then, if you use an aftermarket CV axle, is transferred from the engine through the CV axle and the joint, and then it goes from there again to the wheel hub, let's say the control arms, then to the chassis, then to the cabin. All right, up next at number 1, if you feel vibration in the steering wheel, if you're going over bumps, for example, or maybe even if you're trying to accelerate from a dead stop, you feel vibration in low speeds, then that usually indicates a problem with either your inner tie rods or outer tie rods. So yeah, basically your inner tie rod is attached to your steering rack and pinion, and then the outer tie rod is attached to your steering knuckle. And then there's a ball joint at each end. Now what happens is that ball joint, the protective layer inside that ball joint wears out, and then you have too much give in the tie rods. And when you have too much give, you know, every time you try to accelerate, then you're gonna have vibration. They're not gonna be held firmly. Your steering wheel is not gonna feel right. You're not gonna feel that responsiveness that you should feel inside in your steering wheel, and you're gonna have vibration. And in order to verify a tie rod problem, you need to raise and support the front of your car, put your arms or hands on the 3 and 9 o'clock position on the wheels, and then try to rock it to the left and to the right. And then visually try to verify that movement and a worn or bad tie rod end, and see whether it's on the inside or inner tie rod end, or on the outside or the outer tie rod end. And some of the symptoms of a bad tie rod end are excessive or uneven wear on your tires, and again, vibration, lack of a steering response, or maybe even your car pulling to the right or to the left. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video and want to support my channel, all you have to do is simply watch another one of my videos. You can either click and watch this one in this corner, the one right below it, or click on and watch any of my videos in the suggestion box. That will help as well. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.